Gościmy dzisiaj doktora Roberta Zubrina, a rozmowa będzie o zdobywaniu przestrzeni kosmicznej. To jest coś, o czym normalnie rzadko kiedy mówimy, a dzieje się bardzo dużo w tej dziedzinie. Pan doktor Zubrin przyjechał do Polski przy okazji European Rover Challenge, czyli spotkania młodych studentów, którzy budują roboty, które mogą w przyszłości jechać na Marsa. Teraz uczą się i mają tą konkurencję ze sobą. Sir, first of all, welcome to Poland, welcome to Starachowice, welcome to European Rover Challenge.
Well, I think this is great. I'm really glad to be here.
European Rover Challenge is all about attracting young people to science and technology. It is now held here in Starachowice, but it's a worldwide affair. It all started by you in early 1990s. How it all began and what was the plan back then?
Well, the Mars Society was begun in 1998. In 96, I published my book, The Case for Mars. I got about 4,000 letters from all over the world, including from Poland, of people asked me all sorts of things, but the main thing they were all really asking was, how do we make this happen and how can we be part of it? And so we decided to start a Mars Society. We had the founding convention in Boulder in '98. 700 people showed up, including some from Poland. So it was one of our first chapters. And then at that time, Pershynski, a publisher here, published my book in Polish. And that was the first time I was in Poland in '97. I gave a number of talks.
That was 1997. Now we are in 2018, 22 years past. And back then it looked like we will never get beyond the low Earth orbit. And now the space programs are much more serious.
Well, things are definitely moving. I mean, the official space programs, which we do support and which we helped double the NASA Mars program, they've made incredible discoveries of water on Mars, ice on Mars, places to go to look for life. But I think an even bigger impact has been in terms of spreading the vision that has drawn people to devote their talents to this. Of course, the most famous is Elon Musk, who
is also the person that turns to you as one of the first advisors in the space industry.
Well, yeah, I mean, certainly I helped recruit him to making Mars his cause. His accomplishments are his own. I could never have built SpaceX, but we did have an impact in getting him to put his efforts in our direction. And others, and now we're having an entrepreneurial space revolution occur because Musk has proven that it is possible for private business ventures to do what previously was thought only the governments of superpowers could do.
What is the keyword that Musk is associated with?
Well, I would say first the key word is courage. That is the key word. And that what gives him the ability to attempt reusability, something that everyone else had said could never be done. Okay, so he has proven that it is not only possible to do things in half the time for 1/10 the cost that the government space agencies were doing them, but to do things they had said were impossible. And yes, so I would say the key word is courage. You know, Musk, I have to say, when he started SpaceX, he didn't realize how hard it was going to be. Because I told him he should expect his first few launches to fail. He said, how do you know that? Tell me what's wrong with my design. I said, he's just going to fail. So after the first two had failed, I met with him again, and he said, I'm willing to try this one more time. If it fails, then I'm quitting. Well, it did fail, but he didn't quit anyway. He kept going, and on the fourth time, okay, he successfully launched to orbit. And same thing with the reusability. They failed 5 times before they succeeded. And this kind of courageous and tough attitude is really the key to Musk's success, in addition to his intelligence and all of that. But there are many people that are intelligent, but it takes something extra to be both intelligent and brave, and that's what he is. But having proven that it can be done, now others will say, I can do that too. Because, you know, Musk, while he's very rich by the standards of you and me, he's only about the 100th most rich person in the world. There's 100 people that are richer than Musk, and there's another 100 that are about as rich as Musk. And so there's plenty of others that might now want to try to achieve immortality by entering this race as well. So I think there's going to be more SpaceXs, that is, competitors. There'll be more American SpaceXs, there'll be European SpaceXs, there'll be Chinese SpaceXs, for sure, Indian. I see no reason why there can't be a Polish SpaceX.
Well, it's analogically, when people invent something here, they came up to the same idea over there. Like somebody invented that if you put a stick and a string, make a bow, and it's a very useful tool. Everyone else is doing the same. But let's move to another object. We have these rockets being shot to space. We have this fantastic space technology. Yet people here say we should save our planet. We should take care of our nature. Our civilization has too big imprint on the Earth, and why should we waste time and money to go to space for that?
I think it's much better that we work together to open up new worlds than that we focus on fighting over this one. And so I would take the strongest issue with this point of view. Look, the issue here is, what is the human future going to be? Is it going to be an open future, a future of many worlds and infinite possibilities, or will it be a future fighting over the shrinking pie of the Earth? You know, people say we're threatened with climate change or environmental destruction or asteroid impacts, and there can be arguments made for this. But the real threat to us does not come from these things. It comes from bad ideas. And the worst idea that there has ever been is that there is only so much to go around, and so we need to fight over it. And it is this idea that caused all the major disasters of the 20th century, which Poland suffered from almost all of them directly. World War I, World War II, the Holocaust, and just next door in the Ukraine, Holodomor. All of this is all caused by this idea that there's only so much, so we have to get rid of these other people so we can have what's here. Well, this is not true. And it's a very dangerous idea, and it needs to be refuted. If it is not refuted, we will have similar catastrophes in the 21st century. We'll have worse catastrophes in the 21st century.
But now we know that the resources are out there.
Well, actually, the resources are in here. The materials are out there. Okay. There's no such thing as natural resources. There's only natural raw materials. It is the human mind, it is human creativity that turns materials into resources.
Like the stick and string that together make a bow.
Or land. Land, people think land is a natural resource. Land was not a natural resource until we invented agriculture. Okay? Oil was not a natural resource until we invented oil drilling and refining and machines that could run on the product. Uranium was not a natural resource until we invented nuclear power. Mars is not a natural resource today. It will be once there are resourceful people there, okay? That they will create new branches of human civilization that will make inventions that will benefit them and which will benefit Earth.
It was your idea that we don't actually need all this hyperspace drive, super space cruisers to get us from Earth to Moon. We can do it within existing technology.
Right. We can get to Mars right now in 6 months. In fact, the InSight probe, which was just launched in May, is going to arrive on Mars in November. That is a 6-month flight. 6 months is how long it took to sail from England to Australia in the 1800s. 6 months is the standard rotation on the International Space Station. Human beings can certainly do 6-month voyages. So we can get to Mars in an acceptable time now. We do not need a super future propulsion system to do it.
Right, and the way the SpaceX is moving, they set up a team that is actually working on the small and tiny details on the landing, on the housing, on the food, and all
Well,
those things?
they are doing some of that. I would say the primary SpaceX effort is developing the transportation system. They've already demonstrated the Falcon Heavy, which is half the capability of a Saturn V, but 3/4 reusable. And they are working now on what they call the BFR. I'm sure they'll come up with a better name for it, which will have equal capability to the Saturn V and be fully reusable. That is a vehicle that is powerful enough to launch a Mars settlement program.
Let's imagine we already have a base on Mars and people are actually working there. How this will change the humanity that remains on the Earth?
I think the main influence will be intellectual, because it will show what human creativity can do. It will also be influential in another way. You see, the advantage of having a new world is having a place to go where the rules haven't been written yet. And with people with new ideas on how society should be can go and give their ideas a try. People with new ideas for new social forms and new religions, perhaps, are never popular among everyone else. They need a place to go where they can try these ideas out. Now, in many cases, these ideas will be wrong. They will be inferior to the old ideas, and those colonies will fail. But when they're right, if they can create forms of society that give people a greater opportunity to develop and use their full human potential, they will succeed, and they will draw immigrants to them, and they will grow and prosper, and they will become an example to societies all over the world. I think this has been the main impact of the United States on the world, has been its example. That is, you know, the first Europeans thought they would bring wealth back to Spain or something. Okay, gold.
They brought tomato and paprika, which
they brought such things. But this was really a tiny part. Okay, the main benefit of America was that it created a new branch of human civilization with greater degree of freedom, which therefore developed effectively democracy and the steamboat and the telegraph and the electric light bulb and the aeroplane and the laptop computer and the internet, and these things have benefited the whole world. And societies that favor freedom, education, and invention have become the norm in all advanced countries. And so I think that Mars will benefit us in the same way. It will not be utopia. There will be a lot of experimentation with new social forms, some of which will not be good and they will fail. Others will be good, they will succeed. And then in addition, those Martian societies which do maximize creativity will create many benefits in addition to their example. For example, on Mars, they will have to do their farming with very limited land because they will be using greenhouses instead of open fields. So they will do genetic engineering to create the most productive crops that can grow the most food on every square meter that is possible. Okay, and well, and they will have no patience for people who say, oh, if you do genetic modification of crops, the tomatoes will escape and start attacking people, and we can't have that. No, they'll say, we need this, we're going to do it. And then those inventions, they'll license those inventions on Earth. That's how they'll get money to buy things from Earth. Okay, but then those inventions will be useful on Earth. They're going to need, they'll have a labor shortage for sure. So they'll need labor-saving machinery, as for instance Frontier America did, and which is one reason why we were so productive of labor-saving machinery. But they'll want robotics, artificial intelligence, all these more advanced forms of labor-saving machinery. They will push to the limit, and these will also have benefits for Earth.
Oh, this is obviously a remote future, but the things you do here on Earth for the young people is to inspire them, to give them perspective that there are bright future in front of us.
This is something that we are doing and which I'm very proud of. But what we're also doing here is we're demonstrating to others, to authorities, that if you did a real Mars program, think of what you would do for technical education. Look at the accomplishments of these students at this European Mars Challenge.
They are all over the world here. They're
yes.
From India, from Bangladesh.
That's right.
It's amazing. I mean.
It is amazing. And if you think about this, okay, I mean, this was the same when I came to Poland in 1997. Poland in 1997 was a poor country. The average income was $4,000 a year. And yet all these people came up to me and they were saying, how can we be part of this? How can we be part of the future? We want to be part of the effort to reach Mars. Okay, and now Poland is becoming an advanced country. Now, I was just in Ukraine. I got the same response there today that I got in Poland in 1997. Okay, they're also now reaching for the light, and Bangladesh, and so on. And then you see these contests. They show how the challenge of Mars is encouraging young people. This is an invitation to adventure. Learn your science and technology, and you could be an explorer of other worlds. You know, youth loves adventure, okay? And we...
High goals.
Yes, make science the great adventure. And furthermore, if you talk about society as a whole, okay, here's a fundamental question. What is the good life? Is the good life one of safety and comfort, or is the good life one where you have a chance to do great deeds? Okay? Now, a society of people who only think of safety and comfort is a society on the road to decay. Okay.
Which, again, happened many times in history.
Yes, it did. What we're trying to is not only establish, yes, we will help scientific progress and technical progress if we do this. I think we can restore a health, a moral health to society by getting it once again to embrace what I think is the true good life.
What do we know about the materials that we can turn into the resources that are available on Mars right now, after all the years of science and research of this planet?
We know a fair amount, okay? The rocks and soils contain pretty much all the same chemical elements that you find on Earth. There's also carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, so that's carbon. There's water on Mars. We have now discovered an underground water lake on Mars that is liquid water underground. We've used ground-penetrating radar. We have found it, and I believe we'll find hundreds of them, because if there's one, there's more. Okay, and we have found glaciers on the surface of Mars now, using, once again, ground-penetrating radar that can look through the ground. We have found in the northern hemisphere of Mars glaciers of pure or near pure water ice covered by only a meter or so of dust, 3 million cubic kilometers, which is more water than all the fresh water in Europe, has been found on Mars, as far south as 40 degrees north, which is the same latitude as Athens on Earth, so you're north of that here. So we have water, we have carbon, that nitrogen is a minority constituent in Mars's atmosphere. So there's your hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and carbon. These are the fundamental elements of life. And then, of course, there's plenty of iron on Mars. That's why the planet is red. And yes, there's silicon and aluminum and other things like that that are of interest. So basically, all the materials needed for both life and technological civilization exist on Mars. This is not true on the Moon. There's no carbon on the Moon, which is a real problem, because we are carbon-based life forms. We're made of carbon, our clothes are made of carbon, everything we eat is made of carbon, everything we use is either made of carbon or made with the help of carbon. Okay? It's not on the Moon. It is on Mars, and easy to get. You can get it anywhere by just running a pump. And so if we can go to Mars and use our creativity, we can find ways to take these things in the forms that they manifest themselves on Mars and turn them into useful resources.
Is your company
Pioneer Astronautics?
Pioneer Astronautics, you are doing the metal out of the Martian
Yes,
soil?
that is, we actually have a contract with NASA right now to make steel out of Martian soil. One process for making oxygen on Mars is to take the carbon dioxide and split it into oxygen and carbon monoxide. Well, the way we've typically made steel on Earth has been taking iron oxide and hitting it with carbon monoxide. That's why the steel plants would always use coal. You do incomplete combustion of coal, you produce a lot of carbon monoxide, which is then used to turn the iron oxide into iron and then carbon dioxide. Okay? So we're basically doing the same process, creating carbon steel. And it works. My company has also demonstrated a number of other processes, including the one for making fuel and oxygen on Mars. And I think it's pretty clear that we can make plastics on Mars too. So there you have, well, we can also grow food, and with carbon dioxide and water, that's pretty obvious. That's how it's done on Earth. So food, plastics, steel.
What you are saying is not something far away from us. It's not a science fiction. It's something that we have within our reach. Years? How do you
Yes, it will happen fairly soon. I mean, what Musk has done is world historic. He has let the cats out of the bag, and now they're running around the house, and they will never go back in the bag. Never. That is, he has shown that it is private entrepreneurs can do this kind of thing. So there will be dozens of SpaceXs. There even has had effects outside of space. For example, there are now fusion power startups that are getting serious investment, $100 million here, $200 million there, okay? Because what people are beginning to see is that some of these technical problems that have been relegated to the government and which have not had sufficient progress, that the problems maybe were not technical at all, that they were institutional, okay? And that using these more creative approaches, that these problems can be solved.
Because we had this era in 1960s, 1970s, when everything was changing very fast, when science was moving fast, and then suddenly it slowed down, and we live right now in the world that very much resembles the one from 1970s in terms of technology and how we use resources.
Unless some big mistakes are made by the world's leaders and they cause it another disaster, if that doesn't happen, we're going to have a tremendous age of progress right now. And this will happen even if Musk fails himself. Because Musk, he's a risk taker. He takes risks. He likes to skate right on the edge of the ice. And so he, you know, up till now, he's always succeeded. But even Napoleon finally lost at Waterloo. But but nevertheless, he has already made the point. He has already changed history. Okay, and if he succeeds, SpaceX will have people on Mars by 2030. If he fails, someone else will do it by 2035.
So that's very exciting future in front of us, in front of all those young people who are now in their 20s and tweaking with robots. Sooner or later, they will deliver.
They're going to have a chance to do their rovers on Mars.
Thank you very much. Robert Zubrin, amerykański naukowiec, który odwiedził Starachowice, proszę Państwa, ponieważ tutaj odbywa się konkurs robotów marsjańskich. Był naszym gościem. Bardzo Panu serdecznie dziękujemy.